Hello, Truebies. This is Shanea O'Connor from TrueBloodFansource.com, here to talk to you about tonight's episode, Fuck the Pain Away. And before we get into tonight's little recap discussion, I want to say that I'm sorry that I haven't been around to talk about the last couple of episodes. I had a pet death happen to me last week, and time constraints the week before. And I am feeling much better now, thankfully, and I'm really excited because San Diego Comic-Con is coming up this week. So that's actually what I wanted to discuss before I got into the recap. I put on our front page up in the categories a Comic-Con 2013. So anything labeled with Comic-Con 2013 will show up under that category, so be sure to click it to view all the latest panel news and all of that good stuff there. You'll also find when it comes the panel videos and my little recap experiences and the pictures and everything that I get from that. But I'm really excited to go to Comic-Con this year, and I have something that I'm supposed to be doing this week when I go, and I hope that it will be a really nice surprise if it ends up working out. So be sure to check out all the latest Comic-Con news. The panel list is posted. Stephen Moyer is not attending apparently. So I will probably do a post either Monday or Tuesday just listing all of the True Blood related things that are going on at Comic-Con this year. And I will post as much video and attend as much of those events as I possibly can. So on to the latest news, or on to the latest episode, I should say. Oh my god. Tonight's episode was crazy. Like, really. Seriously crazy. We got a continuation of Sookie and Ben / Warlow. I'm a little bit... I get the concept that because Bill drank Lilith's blood, he can now command her, but I don't know how I feel about that storyline, because it feels like, we were building up, waiting all of this time for Warlow. We find out Ben is Warlow, and man, he is kind of hot. And we find out that, he's gone through this terrible thing where he was turned and he was a fairy and he ended up killing his whole village and all this other stuff, and he doesn't want to be what he is. And then you have Bill as Lilith taking over and commanding him around and taking his blood. I don't know if I really like that. It doesn't sit too well with me, but it might just be because it's taking a while to grow on me. I don't know. Jessica dealt with some serious fallout after she killed Andy's fairy daughters. Luckily, one did survive, thankfully for Andy, because I felt so horrible. Here he was having these kids dropped in his lap at the end of season 5, and he has to all of a sudden be responsible for them, and now all of them are dead. But thankfully, one survived. But Jessica is just beside herself. And I actually found it quite interesting that she got all high and she ended up kissing Bill. And that was the first kind of time that we've ever seen that happen, because it's always been a very paternal relationship, unlike, say, Eric and Pam or Pam and Tara, where you've gotten the sense that they have that relationship, but they've also had sort of a romantic sexual type relationship. So I thought that was interesting. But poor Jessica, really, first she has that happen to her, and then she flees to Jason's to talk to him about it because she has no one else she can talk to. And then Sarah Newman comes out and she's a giant bitch. to Jessica, and she has Jessica sent to vamp camp. Um, so now everyone's at vamp camp, and I'm sort of I don't know how I feel about that. It's sort of fascinating that everybody's at vamp camp, but I'm sort of annoyed because last year that's what happened with the Authority. Everyone sort of ended up at the Authority, but this year they're ending up um, at vamp camp early. And I suppose it's kind of good because you get a lot of issues out in the open and you don't have to, you can tell a lot more story if more of the characters are in one place at one time. Um, but, but, yeah, Jessica gets sent to vamp camp. Thankfully, Tara is there because Eric and Tara choose to go there um, after they learn Pam has been taken. Um, and I felt really bad for Jessica just because I mean what an awful thing to happen, and you're not really used to fairies, and it's not something that, is a common vampire thing that you would teach your vampire progeny. And Jessica learns the hard way, and it's really heartbreaking to see her go through that. But I like the scene between Tara and Jessica where they're talking about vamp camp, and Jessica just is like, I don't know who I am. This hunger won't go away. And Tara is able to bring a lot of her experience in because they kind of have similar um, upbringings in some respects because they grew up with parents that had a religious bent to them. So I thought that conversation was interesting. We also got our first peek at Violet, the vampire Violet, who is played by Carolina Wydra, who I believe is slated to be a regular in season 7 should the series get a pickup. And we're currently still waiting news for that. They didn't introduce her as that, but I had a feeling that was Violet. So we got to see her. And then, of course, we got to see Pam, who was taken, and she had a ball in therapy, just telling the therapist all about vampires and all this stuff. But you can see that she also made a mistake, just like Jessica did, with thinking that she would be okay around the fairy. She told the therapist that she doesn't care about Eric or anything at all, and she does. We know she does. It doesn't matter what she says. She'll always care about Eric. But when we find out at the very end of this episode that she has to face off against Eric in a gladiator type deal, that's kind of awful. Kind of sort of awful. Um, but it's kind of sort of good. I just hope that both of them walk out by the end of it. Is that so horrible to say? I mean, I really do. And I loved how Steve Newland, even though we didn't see him all episode, and I don't even think we saw him last episode, if I recall. I don't think we did. We see him at the end, and he was the one who was orchestrating feeding all of the information to Sarah and Burrell after he gets captured. So that was quite interesting. So he gives up Pam and Eric. So what else happened? Oh, and then we have another continuation with Andy and Holly. And I'm glad that Andy was talked down by Holly and that he didn't go after Bill because that would have been disastrous. But it's really heartbreaking to see what Andy has to go through, but I also enjoy it as a viewer because Andy has typically been sort of the comic relief throughout the past 5 seasons, so to have him be really challenged emotionally is really interesting. Terry and Arlene are facing their own emotional challenges with this whole Patrick thing. I mean, Terry wants to get killed, And I don't know how that's going to resolve, but that whole scene in the diner, with Arlene coming up, I mean, it was heartbreaking because they were having this conversation, him and this guy, lady from basic training, and he wants to kill himself. I mean, that's awful. So another kind of awful thing that's going on is, of course, Sookie and Lafayette. Lafayette thinks that he's helping Sookie by talking to her parents, and then the spirit of her father enters her after she learns all this terrible stuff about how her dad wanted to kill her to save her from Warlow, and her dad's spirit takes over Lafayette and tries to drown her. That's great. Just peachy. It's a callback to season 4 because Lafayette had the similar thing happen with the French lady that took him over, but that was for a more pure purpose, I guess. Then, of course, we have Alcide and the whole Packmaster thing, and I like Alcide, but they're making him an ass. Like, excuse me, big time. I mean, like, come on. You can't do anything more with him than have him be all the time. I know that was lame. That was my werewolf impression. But really, I mean, Joe Manganiello as an actor is capable of so much more, and I feel like they're limiting his storyline, and hopefully it will get better, but I don't have any interest in the werewolves. I don't care. And I feel like Sam and Nicole are being sidelined along with that story because it's like, well, they're running from the werewolves and, they're trying not to get caught, by the police. But I'm finding it really hard to care about it. But then again, it might just be because they're focusing so much on the Vamp Camp storyline that it's just really difficult to care about anything else because that's where the screen time is going. But I mean, I felt bad for Sam because, I mean, here he is trying to take care of this kid and he has this accidental thing with Nicole and they're not getting along and Nicole wants to leave and all of this stuff and it's horrible, but I feel like it's a little bit off kilter, but I have hopes. I mean, I think the Vamp Camp storyline, I mean, I didn't know what to expect when I heard that they were going to do it, but I'm really intrigued. And I'm glad, I think, in the preview for the next episode that Eric is going to get called on turning Willa by Pam because I think he should. I understand why Eric did it. Why he turned Willa because he didn't see any other way to get to the governor, but he underestimated the fact that the governor has very, very strong convictions and he wouldn't hesitate to sacrifice his daughter, even, and intern her. But I feel bad for Willa because, I mean, hello, she's a brand new baby vampire. Her maker tells her to go home, and then she gets locked in this internment camp. So it's like, oh. And then Pam finds out, oh my god, you have a new progeny and you didn't even tell me you turned her? Oh my god. It's getting kind of crazy, but I like the crazy. I just hope that all of our beloved characters survive, even though I know that might not happen, but I'm hopeful. So let me know what you think either on our website or on our YouTube page for this video blog. I will have more. Maybe I'll post another video update when I am at Comic-Con. I might do one after the True Blood panel because I know that lots of you will be anxious to see it. You can't be at Comic-Con, and I try to get it up as quick as humanly possible. So hopefully I'll have lots of good stuff to tell you from Comic-Con. I hope that all of you have a very good week. I thank you for coming to visit True Blood Fan Source. And be sure to keep checking out our website at truebloodfansource.com for all of the latest news and media related to True Blood and its cast and crew. Thanks, guys. See you next week.